Hello everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Create, and we're working on a brand new album. This is a Stamperia collection called Desire, and I had mentioned it in my last series of videos. Anyways, we're finally getting started on that. So I just want to share with you real quick. This is 8.5 by 10.5, 8.5 by 10.5. So my last album was landscape. This one will be portrait. The inside pocket pages are 8 by 10, 8 by 10. Okay, we're gonna do the inside liners right now. If I can get my paper shuffled around. Try not to spill my coffee. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Let me look at my papers again. And yes, this is from the Patterns and Solids, the 12 by 12 patterns, backgrounds. I always want to use the same terminology as graphic 45. Sorry about that. So it's from the background pack, 12 by 12 pack. And, oh, you know what? I'm going to do the top piece first. I think I want to trim that down. And this is from the collection pack. So this is from the 12 by 12 collection pack. Oh, you know what? I just realized I don't have my studio light on, so let me do that. That's just from my window. I realized that when I went to go look at my border, I could hardly see it. Here we go. It's this perfect time of year when I can open my window and enjoy the daylight without the heat. Because it is south-facing, and in another month or so, when the sun's out, it'll be too hot to leave it open, unfortunately. But that's all right. Or at least not leave it open all day like I've been doing. So we're having wonderful weather here, although they claim we're going to have rain coming in the forecast. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about the size of this, because it kind of went back and forth. And now I'm officially stalling. Here, looking for my ruler. Here it is. So this panel is 4 3/4, 4 3/4. It doesn't, yours doesn't have to be, but you get the gist of it. Then I'm going to use this strip to separate the two, like so. I just think that makes it look nice. And you know, just one solid pattern on 8 by 10 is just a lot to cover. So I'm going to trim this down so there's not so much overlap. There it is. So that makes this one 5.5. And it's okay if there's a little gap in between because we're going to run that strip through there. Turns out I don't have one, which is awesome. That bubble right there is an indication that I need to clean my tip. So what happens over time with these tips, and somebody had asked me about, you know, what was my trick in a comment just the other day. So whenever I use, I guess this is a 4-ounce bottle. I use a 4-ounce bottle with the Scrap Perfect tip on it. And as a rule of thumb, I take apart the tip every time I need to refill the bottle. That may not be frequent enough for you, but because I'm building multiple albums a month, 2 or 3 albums a month, I go through glue pretty quick. If you go through glue a little bit slower, you might want to consider cleaning it on a more frequent basis. So about once a month. Is that right? About once every 2 months is probably more accurate. I take my whole tip apart and I take this piece off and this little pink piece off. When it starts bubbling like that, what's usually happening is it's coming up and around the bottom, although I see right here it's clean, but usually I'll find glue in that crevice, and that's usually an indication. This, I think, is a pressure issue for some reason. There's air, there's glue, air, and glue, and so the glue wants to keep pumping out. That's an indication of overfilling your bottle. If you get glue stuck between 2 pockets of glue, that air in there is just going to create constant pressure, and want to push out, especially as your temperature changes throughout the day. So don't overfill your bottle because that'll happen. Or if you do, tap it until that bubble rises and you can clear it. So that is what I know about glue bottles. Now this one needs to be trimmed to fit. I knew I was going to lay it on top, so I'm going to want to trim it to fit exactly so that we get this beautiful edge. Even if the other two pieces don't line up perfectly, although they do, surprisingly. So it was an option of this or this, and I like the lighter color better. So again, I started with 4 3/4 here. This is a 1-inch band. And I'm just gonna roughly center it. There we go. We're gonna repeat that process for the back. Pay attention to this panel because there is writing on it, so make sure you've got your orientation correct. That looks good. So we're over 23,000 subscribers right now. We're approaching 25, which is a pretty big number. So we are looking at doing a giveaway at 25,000 subscribers. And I'm trying to figure out how, it's gonna be a random drawing. And we're going to draw from subscribers to the channel. So if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. And it's going to be a gift certificate to our online paper store. To be eligible, you must live in the United States or one of its territories. We don't ship out of the United States, unfortunately. The shipping is it just can't be done. Too difficult. The expense would be many times more than the value of the paper, unfortunately. That is without a doubt our largest expense. We've probably seen, this is our 5th year, in the 5 years that we've been in business, we've seen our shipping rates go up somewhere to the tune of 40% from when we started to now. That's a lot. I know everything has gone up, but not 40%. So that's kind of crazy. And nothing ever comes back down. If it goes up, it just stays up. So you notice that we've kind of lost some of our East Coast shoppers because we've had to raise our shipping prices as a result of them being raised for us. So that's real unfortunate. We miss you guys. But we have a lot of West Coast, California, Arizona, Utah shoppers, thankfully, or frankly, we'd be out of business. The COVID period was really good to us because lots of people were staying home and, making use of that time by crafting. And we've seen a huge change in that as well. People have gone back to work and also gotten back to traveling. So this seems like this hobby has been sort of set aside for a while. Hopefully, oops, I forgot I need to trim that. Hopefully it's temporary, not permanent. So anyway, I know I will continue crafting, but I like all crafts, so I like to paint and I haven't done that in a while. And that is really difficult to teach. Or at least I find it difficult. I think the more skilled you are, the easier it is to teach anything. And I would say I'm definitely a beginner when it comes to painting. Okay, there's our inside liners. I think they're pretty. I love this pattern. Oops, I don't think I got enough glue quite. or it didn't spread. There we go. Sometimes you just need to press it so the glue goes out towards your edges, but I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. So that is the inside liners. And what I did to get started is there'll be 4 pocket pages, and again, these pocket pages are 8 by 10. I went ahead and put a 1/2 inch strip, and this is on the spine edge. So page 1, here it is. I was getting page 1 laid out. So page 1 would have a strip here and here because that's where the spine would be. So each one of my pages has a 1/2 inch decorative trim on the spine side. And that's just so that there's no conflict of any of the mechanisms on this side with either the cover or the next page. So I'm going to offset all the internal stuff, and you can always go all the way out to the edge of the book. Hopefully that makes sense. But I have at times had flaps back to back like this, and if one's a little higher or lower than the other, just a little bit of a curl on that corner is enough to catch the next page. So by putting these 1/2 inch strips, you completely avoid that. Okay, that's it for now. The next time we get together, we'll continue working on the album cover. So we've got the inside liners done. We'll start working on the covers. Hey everyone, it's Daphne from Scrap and Crate, and we're going to finish the cover for Desire. And what I took was this image from the 12 by 12 collection pack, and I fussy cut this part of the image out, and I'm going to lift it up so you can see what I've done. I taped it down for planning purposes. Actually, it looks like I used Scotch tape in 2 of those places, so I can't lift it completely. I thought I used the removable kind. So basically, this was one 12 by 12 image. This was the far side, and this was the left side. So I cut down this building, and then I fussy cut around this flamingo pair, and then, you know, did the detail around their feet, and then came back around here. So from this circle, I fussy cut around the couple. Now, because I had to fussy cut around the feet to lay it back in, I just added this trim piece. So it could be any one of the trim pieces or the border pieces that you have, but I chose this one. I think it kind of looks like carpet, and that is how I came up with this. I wish I could completely separate it, but I will tear the paper. So what you see on the back side is this is where the dress was previously. So it was over quite a bit, and then I just sort of mushed the page together. So I can lift this. I'm going to gingerly go around and put some ink behind this image because I didn't do that before I taped it down. And it should help hide that little bit of white, make it blend in just a little bit better. Okay, especially right here. Okay. So again, this is from the 12 by 12 collection pack. And I just fussy cut around most of the couple until I got to this circular piece of tile or cobblestone on the bottom. This is where powder puff is not ideal. It doesn't go around corners very well. But I've come to learn that neither does this. Maybe a little bit better, but not much. Okay, and then over here, that's temporary tape. So you can see this whole strip is separate from this image. Okay, so I'm going to keep that lined up. And then we're going to lay this on top of our album. And that is going to become the cover. So let me put a spacer in here to kind of hold the top up. Okay, now I'm adding glue in the back. Okay, and then for the spine, I have this polka dot paper. And let's see if it's going to fit. It looks just right, and it's already inked. This is, I think, from the patterns. I'm not really sure. I've cut through so much of the paper, and because they use a pattern or a background on even the cover, once you cut through that and glue it down, it's really hard to keep track of. Maybe, here's an idea. Here's what I should do moving forward. I'll take a picture of it, and that way, even if I cut through it, I can keep track of where it came from and refer back to the photo. Yeah, that's a good idea. I don't know why I didn't think of it sooner. Because I do use that technique when I'm doing a layout and I'm not sold on it. I'll do a this or that, take a picture of both versions, and then make a choice. Okay, and then the back is going to be super simple. It's the same pattern. I'm going to continue the wrap. I've already inked these, so it's just a matter of getting some glue on here and laying it down. And I guess we don't need to look at that or this. Okay. Okay. I have these graphic 45 roses, and I'm not sure I think I can. kind of concerned about the scale. This is Triumphant Red. Well, actually, I think it's going to be fine. I think the colors are perfect. It's more scale that I was concerned about. I think I kind of like it this direction, just because there's a cluster up here anyway. So one of the things I want to show you guys is if you feel like these are too large, there is a way to deconstruct them to make them a little lower profile. And I'm going to do that with one of the larger ones. I think I'm going to choose this one. And I chose it. It's not the largest one. It's the tallest one. So I'm going to peel off these petals, which is going to be one layer of petals. And then when you do that, you're going to see there's a metal piece just right there. And if you peel off the next layer, it comes off much easier because there's less glue. It's just poked through that metal thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this bead, and that's going to lower the profile. So there's a bead here and there's another bead right into the bud. So I'm going to remove that, and then I'm going to add these two layers back on. So it'll still be a large flower, but a lower profile. And I find that makes these much more useful because a lot of times they're just too tall. So that, yeah, that's going to work perfect. So I think I'm going to do that again. So in this time, I'm just going to remove two layers at one time. Just twist it. The metal stem will come out. And there's my bead. I'm going to remove that. And try to poke it through the original hole. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Close enough. There we go. And then also what I like to do is flatten that back, fold it back down. There we go. Considerably smaller. And this one I hadn't folded the metal down yet. So much more flush, consistent with this, how much scale I want to get on top of this. So I'm going to do that again. So it's still pretty just like this. So you can add this, and this is what I think I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to leave it just like so. I'm not going to add the layers back in. There we go. It's a little bit bigger than that, not quite as full. And then I'm going to use a small bud, or the largest of the smalls, I guess. Yep, it's this one. And I like to use this tool, wrap this around, and just make it have some texture. So I'm just going to create some bends in this that can poke up a little bit above the flower. I think it makes it a little bit interesting, like so. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. So let's go ahead and get started. Perfect. I like these little springs sticking out. Sometimes they just even have an extra piece of metal in there. Then the other thing I like to do is tear off and add the leaves. So let's go ahead and get this down. And I'm using art glitter glue for everything. Just got to be a little bit patient. Okay, now I'm going to use some of these leaves down here. I'm just going to tuck that in, fill in some of the gaps. There. We've already got 2 leaves there. See, do we need anything else? There we go. I think that looks lovely. So we used 2 out of the 4 large. I've got some extra petals that I can repurpose. And I've got some buds that are left. So I'm gonna call it finished. So that is Stamperia's project of Desire with our graphic 45 roses. Check the material list and the cut list in the show more or in the description. Click show more and you will get all those details. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This is Daphne from Scrap and Create.